Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yusril and welcome once again to the Tribble Timewarp. It is the 15th of June and there are a couple of changes worth flagging up. The first one, and this is perhaps the anticipated one I suppose is the best word, is that Tier 5 Romulan Reputation should now give you access to the Plasma Flamethrower Mark 12. Hopefully I will be able to get a look at it at some point. Unfortunately, Reputation being what it is on the Tribble server, it reset everything to 0, so that's a little bit sunk at the moment. The main one, however, is the Dilithium mine fleet holding. This is in the Beta Ursay sector block. It is a little way southwest, well, west-southwest if you're being pedantic, of Deep Space Nine. A couple of light years over from the Vlugta asteroid field. Klingons, don't get enthusiastic, you are not going to be staging hostile takeovers, no matter how much you might want to. We'll take a quick look at the holding screen. Here we are, Dilithium mine. Yes, this is at tier 3, it is maxed out. Tribble has the perk that all the reputation projects work very, very quickly for Starbase holdings. So, 3 levels and 2 subcategories, much like the Embassy. Level 1 of the mine gives you the interior map. Yes, they need to level it just to get the life support working, as well as a dilithium discount of 3% both on your store and on any fleet projects. Second level gives you the exterior, the daily mission, or at least one of them, as well as a further 3% discount, mail and bank access. It also allows you to employ a further dilithium store discount, an ore refiner contact, and the interfleet shuttle to give yourself quick access to the fleet starbase, which is probably going to see this being used as a quick way of getting to Eta Eridani when you're done in the Beta Ursay missions. Level 3, a further 3% discount. Yes, these stack, as well as exchange access, so basically you now have a miniature starbase and a second daily mission. You also have a rich dilithium mining daily, another 3% discount on the store, as well as Mine Tailor and Miner Costume unlock. Apparently business is booming. Down on the trade tier, we have the RCS and armor consoles, as well as a 3% discount. Needs to say, going further up allows you to unlock higher marks and further stacks of the discount. The tactical track, or rather the development track, yes I know it's red, gives you access to the warp cores. So you have advanced fleet, elite fleet at level 3, as well as duty officers and various other options. So let's head down and take a look. And here we are. The mine itself, we have a couple of freighters wandering around the map to give it some life. A couple of asteroids with various facilities dotted around the surface, as well as a pretty nice little starbase, well, space station. It's not really big enough to be a starbase, is it? Swing around again. Needless to say, this asteroid is far too small to support any kind of atmosphere, so it is a good idea to bring an EV suit if you're going anywhere on the ground map. We have a mining laser toddling away. Apparently they really like their pyramid structures for building around here, and that's, well, very definite blue and green palette to this. Just take a quick toddle down here, see if it does anything interesting. Nope. Yeah, it's a really very pretty bit of rock. It's worth noting that the missions themselves require various materials. Primarily it seems to be operations, engineering and civilian duty officers, as you might expect for a facility that's mostly, well, about operations, engineering and mining. It's also worth noting that we have a new type of provision, the dilithium mine provision. Given that these cost the same as Embassy provisions and serve exactly the same function, I have to wonder why Cryptic don't just merge these up and call them fleet construction provisions. It will, if nothing else, save on A, currency proliferation, because let's face it, that's basically what they are, and B, it will also remove the possibility of people blowing fleet credits and then realising, oh dear, I have gone and bought the wrong thing. Let's head for the surface. Or at least the interior of the base. And here we are. Needless to say, this was built apparently by Riemann, so it's skimping on the lighting. Federation banners, these will of course change based on your faction alignment. And let's have a look. Right, so mail terminal there, standard stuff. Tailor there. Actually, no, let's have a look and see if we can see the costume. Modify. Presets, not available. Uniform. Advanced. Now, what do we have? Doesn't seem to be in there. Let's try the tight jackets instead. And no, it's not there either. Okay, well, I'm sure it'll show up eventually. Cancel out of that. Exit. Okay, so first space equipment vendor. This chap gives us the consoles, specifically the enhanced alloy consoles, which are essentially high-grade neutronium armor, so plus 21.2 at maximum. They also give you essentially half an extra console. So you can see the hull repair here, you have plus 10.6. If I go to the RCS equivalent, you can see I get 21.2 damage resist and 21.2% flight rate. Now, look at the RCS console, find, here we are, Mark 12 plus all resistance. 42.5% flight turn rate, 10.6 damage resist. So basically you have half of one and all of the other. These RCS accelerators, well, they might come in handy for whales like the Pterodactyls, but personally I think a lot of people are just going to go for one of the high-grade neutronium consoles and say, you know what, that will do me. It's also worth noting that we have a kinetic monotanium alloy console. Again, we have the 50% extra console bonus attached. We also have power transfer, hull hit points, turn rate, and hull repair. So you can expect those four modifiers when these things hit. All very simple, although space equipment, he could probably be renamed to, I don't know, enhanced console vendor, something like that. Exchange access is there. You can go outside, we'll cover that in a second. Personnel officer, duty officer assignments. There are some dilithium refining capacity, as well as 2 missions here. We'll just take a quick look because I have these in progress. Mine motherload of valuable materials. Nice little wodge of energy credits, although I have to note that 33,000... Well, it's a nice payoff for a duty officer mission, but let's face it, that is 1 common grade warp core, and probably less than that, so you'll really not be using this mission for the cash so much as you will be for the fleet marks, the mine provisions, and, let's face it, a decent wodge of experience. The dilithium motherload, by contrast, does give you 500 ores, so hey, it's a nice little set once and go option. And we have some dilithium refining capacity. This is once per day, takes 5 seconds to run, doesn't really require much in the way of an offset. In fact, it doesn't require an offset at all. So, in effect, you now have 8,500 dilithium refining capacity, going up to 9,000 every 2 days if you're a veteran subscriber. The personnel officer, the duty officers, there are 3 kinds here. You get Ferengi, Iridian, and yes, Horta. Usual round of traits and or options. Here are some fairly hilarious quotes at times, although the Ferengi are a bit staid. These are minor duty officers, so naturally they are going to come in most handy during the, well, mining missions, although I imagine Crypto will find other uses for them. And let's face it, an epic grade unscrupulous Ferengi, well, hey, if you're not mining, he can always be repurposed off onto the trade missions. The Iridians likewise tend to have unscrupulous, and there's not much of a difference between them and the Ferengi, except possibly experience and a concomitant drop in the number of sexual harassment complaints you'll be getting on board ship. Lastly, we have the Horta. These guys do not have the unscrupulous trait. They are a race of space cadets, as those of you who remember Lieutenant Narat will doubtless be aware. They also, ironically enough, have the peaceful trait. Then again, when you secrete an acid capable of eating through a starship's hull and doing horrible things to organic people, while being more or less immune to weapons fire, it's amazing how easy it is to be peaceful in this galaxy. Although some of the quotes are, as I've said, at least vaguely amusing. The renewal approaches. That could very well turn into a plot point. For those of you who haven't seen the episode in a while, the renewal is basically the point at which the entire Horta race more or less dies off bar one, and that one then goes mama bear for rather a lot of eggs until they all hatch. However, moving on, we have the warp cores. Now these are just a little bit special. You can see for a start that they come with an obscene number of modifiers. So you'll typically get, well, let's have a look. Efficiency boosts for shield and auxiliary power, flat boosts to shield and auxiliary power, which will allow you to exceed the cap. Maximum warp factor of 10, as you might expect, engine performance and a weapon power transfer and slipstream turn rate and a shield capacitor. I mean, you have, yes please. Moving down, we have again the bonus powers, boost to electroplasma, again the power transfer, and this is more or less the trait that follows it through. You get one kind of capacitor, a slipstream bonus, a power transfer, and both flat power bonus and efficiency power bonus to 2 systems. So, hypercharged warp core gives you engines and auxiliary. Reinforced warp core gives you shields and auxiliary. What else do we have? We don't. So it looks like you're always going to have the boost to auxiliary, and it's a choice between engines and shields for the rest. So engines and shields if you're going for engines and auxiliary if you're going for escorts, shields and auxiliary for just about anyone else. On the elite side, again we have reinforced and hypercharged. Let's just have a look at what we're getting here. Even more warp core efficiency, ye gods, as well as the appropriate options. Plus 3.3% all damage for each subsystem with 75 or more power. Ye gods. That's the amp power, I assume. What else do we have? EWS. 1% chance when hit to grant plus 10 weapon power. And that looks like it's it. So, again, we have the singularity bonuses. We have 2 new plus points for the elite cores. It has to be said, if you're an engineering captain, AMP sounds so outrageously effective that it might actually be worth just getting it for that. The Romulans aren't left out either. We have the singularity cores. Now, you get 2 bonuses based on your singularity charge level, so it might be tempting not to start popping plasma shockwaves at every opportunity. Let's see, what else do you get? Capacitor, shielding, boosts, plus turn rate. This is all fairly standard stuff. Let me see, what else do we have? Let's toddle down here. Particle generator skills, particle generators. Again, electroplasma systems. So, yeah. Looks like on the advanced cores you have a choice between power boost to 2 systems, 1 singularity boost, 1 capacitor, and a slipstream bonus of some description. Over on the elite cores, ye gods, how many bonuses does this come with? Right, what do we have? 2 power boosts. The standard amp ability, again a capacitor, and slipstream bonuses. What's con, I wonder? 1% chance when hit to grant 1 singularity level. Okay, that could be fun if you're tanking. Alright. And again we have the amp bonus occurring here. So engineers, you guys are going to love this as an option. I suspect I know what every cruiser captain in the fleet is going to go for. The upper level doesn't have quite so much going for it at the moment. Well, actually it's pretty empty. It's worth noting here a little tidbit. We have displays showing the scimitar. Alright, what else? We also have a little bit of problem. I suspect these shutters will be retractable. However, there is a small problem with the way the zoning works. You can go outside. Now, I'll bring up the map for a moment and show you where we are. we are standing pretty much directly above the exit force field at this point, which becomes very apparent if you walk up to the edge here, because you will start suffering vacuum exposure. So you get the usual hold, your health will start dropping like a stone, and if you don't have an environment suit handy, you are completely and utterly boned. This is purely an issue on the upper level, because on the lower level, you can't actually get to there without going through the force field, which is basically a, hey, you are about to step into areas where you cannot breathe. Are you sure you wish to do this? Switch the suit off for a second and head back down. And before anyone gets creative, no, you cannot steal that rather large hunk of dilithium. More's the pity. Alright, we have a personnel officer here. I assume he will give us dilithium mining missions eventually. Reactivate the suit. And let's head outside. There's a nice touch here in that if you are inside the field, you will use the normal moveset. If you are outside the field, you will switch to the EV moveset. Little bit of a lighting problem there. It does fix itself once you are fully across the zone line. There's just that one point where it's a bit badly lit. Alright, so what do we have out here? The answer at the moment is very, very little. There are supposed to be dilithium mining missions here. Let's face it, rather work for the fleet than work for that Ferengi. But for the most part, you're just toddling around using the navigation beacons. This is all standard stuff. Interesting point is that you can jump, and because of the lowered gravity, you can actually jump about 6 feet rather than the usual 2 to 3. And we also have navigation points on elevated platforms, which is an interesting touch since it allows you to basically use these as high visibility zones and just jump from one to the other. We also have multiple colours of dilithium. Apparently it doesn't just come in purple these days. So we have yellow kryptonite, green kryptonite, blue kryptonite. Does anyone remember what the various colours actually did to that guy? I haven't seen the new movie yet. Probably ought to. Anyway, not just the boring purple stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And it's also quite a nice view of the planet. So that pretty much covers the dilithium mining experience at the moment, because there isn't much of one. We still seem to need the missions, and I imagine those will be the usual laser mining minigame. Be interesting to see if they give us something else. It'll also be interesting to see as and when we get that shutter retraction option as an upgrade, but we will see what happens over the next few weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been Yusril. That has been a first look at the dilithium mining fleet holding, and if anyone starts singing the hi-ho song in comments, I will break out the downvotes. I'll see you next time.